Good morning. My name is Tyler, and I'm the middle school pastor here at the Apex campus. And we're going to start off with an activity. I need a couple people who think they're handy, like they can fix things around the house. You're handy? All right, come on up. And you think you're handy? Yeah. You want to come on up? Nice. All right. We got a couple people. What is your name?
My name is Lucy.
Lucy. On a scale of 1 to 10, around the house, how handy do you think you are?
Like a 5 or 6.
All right. So what? You can hang a picture.
I help my dad a lot around the house. So.
Nice. Awesome. So you know how to put a screw into the wood. Great. All right, Jacob. What's your name?
Jacob. Wait, how'd
you know? Name tag. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how handy do you say you are?
I do things most of the time around the house with my dad, and since we're gonna be moving to a new house, there's probably gonna be a lot of stuff. So I'd probably rate myself at 6.5.
All right. So because you think you're 6.5 and you're like a 5 or 6, we're gonna give you the challenge. All right. So the game is you have to, first person to screw their screw. You see that screw their screw into the wood wins. Here is your screwdriver, Lucy, and here is your little spoon. Here's your little spoon. All right, so first person to screw it in wins. It works. I tried it. You just got to be patient, okay? Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right, he's putting some force into it. Lucy's some good progress here. Good job. He's also now rotating the wood. She's just about done. How are you doing over here, Jacob? She's finished. Give it up for Lucy, everybody. It's a little spoon. You're right. Give it up for Jacob, though, for trying. You can go grab a seat. Thanks. Appreciate it. That's all. That's all I needed. Awesome. So which tool worked better? The screwdriver. Now, you can spend all day here and have all the patience and take your time, and you can screw that in with a spoon. You can. Should you? No, you would miss the Super Bowl, and that would be a big bummer, right? And we want you guys to watch the Super Bowl and to root for the Bengals today, and we want that to happen. I really am only going for the Bengals because one of their linemen has type 1 diabetes, and I want my son to watch that as well. But just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. Now, what does this have to do with our sexual desires and our sexual identities and stuff that we're hearing about this series and this month? Well, if you remember, a desire is anything that we want to do or feel like we have to. That's a desire. So our sexual desires are those things that we feel or want to do or think about that have a sexual nature to them. And we're talking about this because if we don't address what to do with our desires or what we can and can't do with our desires, if we don't address it here at church in a God-honoring way, then these are the things in your life that may hurt the most, that may leave a lot of pain and a lot of scars. And so we're going to talk about these things with what we call integrity. And sexual integrity is this. It's choosing to respond to sexual things that you feel, you think, right, and you desire. It's responding to these things in a way that respects yourself, others, and God. How do I think about the desires I have in a way that respects someone else and respects myself and respects God? That's what we're going to talk about today. And to do this, we're going to actually look at something written a long time ago by a guy named Paul. And Paul was like a church planter. He would walk around from city to city to city, and he would start churches. He would go in public places. He would invest in a few people who did not know who Jesus was, tell them about Jesus. Then he would be with them, and he would help them start a church. And he would stay there sometimes up to 18 months at a time, just over a year and a half maybe, and he would go on to the next city. So when these churches when they had some issues, they would write Paul letters, right? They didn't have like phones or social media or texting. We're going to write Paul a letter and ask, okay, what do we do when this happens? And Paul would write letters back. One of those churches that he helped start was in a town called Corinth. And Corinth, that city itself, had a very bad reputation. In fact, so bad, in fact, that the name Corinth actually became a verb, and that meant it meant something that became really corrupt and evil. It would be Corinthianized. It would become Corinthianized. Wouldn't that be kind of a bummer? Like if your name became a verb, like it's like, hey, I failed a test. Oh man, you're really Aaron Nelson that one, you know? Like forever it was known as that. Like to be Corinthianized was to become corrupt. And so some churches that Paul started, they were really healthy, good leadership, good theology, all that stuff. But some churches were pretty bad. Corinth was a problem child. Corinth was a bad, bad church. If this were the group family photo, Corinth is that guy in the corn shirt. Do you know who corn is? Just forget about it. But this is the problem child, right? And what made this town, what made Corinth just in general so bad is that it was founded actually by slaves, freed slaves, immigrants, and the poor, which actually sounds great. Sounds like a great society to start. Those who have been forgotten about and marginalized now have a place to call their own. Great. However, when there is no like hierarchy or elite classes, the people who founded it said, oh, hey, we can become the elite. We can move up the social ladder. We can throw wild parties, and we can hook up with someone else every weekend, and we can do everything in our powers to gain fame and social status and followers and popularity and everything else. We can do whatever we want because this is our society. And this is what Corinth became. See, it was on the ocean, and so a lot of boats would come in, bringing a lot of business. It was a land of opportunity. You could make whatever life you wanted to in Corinth. Kind of sounds like America, doesn't it? Country that was established by those who were marginalized over in Europe or not the elite. And now we can like kind of create whatever life we want to create here. And there's opportunity coming left and right. There's businesses coming in left and right. It sounds like Corinth, if I look hard enough, it actually is the same as America. It's almost like there's no difference between who's Paul writing to back then and who we are today. So if we look closely at this letter, we can see that Paul, in a lot of ways, is just talking to us. He's talking to us because Corinth was a city that valued all the wrong things, and this church was full of people who claimed to follow Jesus who also valued all the wrong things. So let's take a look at this letter. 1 Corinthians 6 says this. This is Paul writing, right? You say, I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. And even though I'm allowed to do anything, I must not become a slave to anything. You say, but food was made for the stomach and stomach for the food. Which is true, but you can't say that our bodies were made for sexual immorality. They were made for the Lord, and God cares about our bodies. The things in quotes there, those were actual sayings that people in Corinth were like saying. Like, I can do anything. Hey, the food was made for my body and my body for food, so I can do whatever I want. It's like saying, yeah, like my body was made to have sex and God created sex, so I guess I can do whatever I want and it's all good. It's all freedom. See, Paul's actually just quoting things that they already said. So he's saying, yeah, you guys are saying that I'm allowed to do anything. But that's stupid. Don't be an idiot. And here's why. It sounds like a lot of phrases that we use today, right? Like it's my body, my choice, my freedom. I can do whatever I want. I can find my own truth. It sounds a lot like the Corinthians are doing the same thing that we are today. And remember, he's writing a letter to Christians, to Jesus followers, not random people. So Jesus followers are saying, yeah, I can do whatever I want with my body. I can do whatever I want to because I can build whatever life I want because it's my freedom to do it. It's my right. And Paul's like, technically, yeah. Technically, you can do anything you want. When it comes to sexual immorality, which is what he's addressing actually, because they were living in a very deep sexual sin, even the Jesus followers in Corinth, he's like, yeah, you can, but it's not good for you. Every single time he quotes them, he offers an alternative. Yeah, but not everything is good for you. Yeah, but you're becoming addicted to these things. You're becoming a slave to it. Your bodies were made for the Lord, not just to do whatever you wanted to with. So he gives them an alternate perspective. And so for us, what he's saying is this. Yeah, technically, when you're entering in relationships and you're exploring sexuality, you can send nudes to people and you can ask for them. Should you? No. Yeah, technically, you can watch porn and watch things that you're not supposed to be watching. You have the ability to. Should you? No. Yeah, you can go over to your boyfriend or girlfriend's house when their parents aren't home. Should you? No. But here's the thing about that. If we just listen to the world around us, and we watch these TV shows and movies, and we give into social media, and we watch what celebrities are promoting, then we start to think, you know what? It's my body. It's my freedom. I can do whatever I want. You can't judge me, right? Here's the thing about that. I legitimately love like Billie Eilish and her music. It's great. There's also other celebrities who have music that, like Lizzo. You can be a fan of somebody. You can support their music. You can listen to it and love it. You can even buy shows to go to their concerts. But for me, the moment that what they value publicly contradicts what God values is the moment I'm like, okay, this is where I draw the sand. I can still listen to their music, but I'm not going to believe what they promote just because they're famous. Just because Billie Eilish, just because Lizzo, or just because anyone else says something, it does not make it the truth. God establishes the truth, and I know that because time and time again, I've seen people and myself run after the things that the world is telling them to run after, right? And they may be good things like the body positivity movement. Yeah, you should not be ashamed for how your body looks, but what that leads us to do is post pictures that we should not be posting. We'll do whatever it takes to gain attention and to gain followers and to gain recognition and status. We will be in any relationship that we can get into. We will send anyone pictures of ourselves without clothes on. We will post pictures of ourselves in bikinis or in suggestive poses just for the attention. And we'll say, yeah, well, it's my body, it's my freedom. This is exactly what Paul's talking about. And I've seen people run after these things. But what it leads to is regret, disappointment. It leads to burnout and a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. People want to live a full life. They want to have a fun life. They want to experience the joys of life. And I think that's where all this comes from. But we're looking at it in all the wrong places. And Jesus himself, in John chapter 10, says this: I have come so that everyone would have life and have it to the fullest. That's why I came. That's why I'm giving you these things to live by. You want a full life? Don't look at what the world is doing. Look at what I'm doing. Just because you can do something, it does not mean you should. Just because you have the freedom and the ability and the options to do these things, it does not mean that you should. And hear me out on this. It's not because God is a buzzkill. It's not because he just is really strict and doesn't want you to have any fun in life. Actually, God himself wants you to have a full life. He wants you to be in relationships. He wants you to experience the joys and the happiness and the fun of sex and sexuality the way he designed it. Because he knows if we explore that in the ways that he didn't design, it's going to end up in disappointment and regret every time. Every time. So just because you can do something, it does not mean that you should. I'm going to pray, and we're going to go to our small groups and talk more about this. And we're going to talk more about, okay, well, how do I live this out? We're going to pray. I'm going to give us some instructions on where to go next. God, I thank you so much because you've given us freedom. You've given us true freedom to not be a slave to the world and run after the things that the world tells us to, but instead you show us what it means to have a full life. And God, the truth is, just because we can do something, it doesn't mean we should. Just because we can spend all day trying to screw in a screw to some wood with a little spoon doesn't mean that we should do this. Just because we can do inappropriate things in relationships and send pictures and look at things we shouldn't be looking at doesn't mean that we should, Jesus. I know it's difficult. I know that everyone else is telling us how to live and we're not fitting in or cool if we don't do certain things. But God, I pray that through small group discussions, that through relationships that we have in here, that our students and our leaders both would see that there is more than what the world has. There's a full life found in you and you alone. God, we pray this in your name. Amen.